Hey guys, it's me Astrid, and this is a long-awaited video. I know I've recently moved and everything's been going on, but I wanted to show you my new growing setup. It's time. First off, before I get started, I would like to thank everyone who watched my video from my cousin and his baby girl recently and who contributed to their GoFundMe campaign. Thank you so much. They didn't meet their goal, but they pulled in several $1,000s of donations to help with Peyton's medical bills. And thank you so much. Peyton is doing a lot better. She's at home. She's playing and being, a naughty little girl, just like she's always been. So that's really good. And I really thank all of you, even if you couldn't donate, for your really good wishes and all of that. I really, really appreciate the support. Now, I think you guys really would like to see some orchids in a growing space, so let's get started. Okay, so here we have it. I am growing in a bathroom. Don't worry, I do have 2 bathrooms. I have 2 showers, indeed. So this one being occupied isn't that much of a problem. So let's give you a layout of the room. Of course, we have our door, our light switches. But I'll start over here with the humidifier. This was about 20 bucks on Amazon, and I can turn this up really high to get the air flowing and to increase the humidity in this bathroom. However, the humidity is about 51%. I don't want to, mugify myself out, so I'll turn that off for now, but I do have a humidifier constantly available to keep the room's humidity up. Next, we've got fan number 1 that kind of points down to this shelf, and we've got fan number 2 that sits over the top of this shelf to keep the airflow constantly going through my growing space. If I didn't have these fans blowing, the plant's leaf temperatures could get really high and the humidity wouldn't circle very well. And it's my understanding that the humidity, if you have high humidity and you don't have good airflow, that puts you at risk of mold problems and bacterial infections. So with increased humidity necessitates increased airflow, which is why I always have fans running 24/7 even when the lamps are off. Next up here we've got my my little junk part of my shelf and my humidity and temperature monitor. You can see it's 90F in here. I don't know what that means in Celsius right this second, but we can find out. It means 32C is what it means. So we've got 90F and 32C in here, which is nice and toasty. And then of course I've got spray bottle to mist my plants, and I've got these lamps. So these lamps I'll show you, I've got 2 of them. These are T5HO, and their spectrum is 6500K. Now, there is a really good American Orchid Society webinar for you to see that details growing under lamps, and it's very, very useful to watch. So if me saying this is a 4-bulb, 4-foot-long T5HO 6500K lamp sounds like Greek to you and you're not a native Greek speaker, well, go ahead and check that webinar out. I think it's available to the public. So yes, I've got 2 of those lamps running for 16 hours a day because it's summertime. And they are really doing well for my plants. My plants are showing signs of getting adequate light, which is great. And I'm still kind of sorting out how close each plant needs to be to the growing lights versus, how far away it should be. That's kind of redundant. But yeah, I'm still figuring it out, but I think I've got a good setup, which is why I finally feel comfortable showing it to you. And I wanted to show you a couple things that indicate that this is kind of going successfully. So here we've got my Brassavola nodosa, and I use the Brassavola nodosa as kind of a barometer or a kind of a measuring stick of how bright an area is. If it gets purple spotting on it, that means that it's getting pretty bright light. So anything at this distance from the lamps is getting light that's adequate for my Brassavola nodosa, which means really high light. And the closer that you get to the light, the more intense the light is. There's something called the inverse square law, which means that the light decreases exponentially with distance. But for those of you non-tech people, if you get farther away from the light, it really rapidly drops off how intense the light is getting. And I guess I'll just go ahead and show you some of my plants too. We've got, this is also really purple from just being under the light. The leaf is green, but it's getting a nice suntan under that light. And yeah, things are growing very well. Here's some more successful signs I've got going. So here we've got a new growth coming off of this Dendrobium phalaenopsis with lots of new roots and new root tips. These ample green roots coming out with lots of green growing tips indicate that the humidity is high enough for this plant. If you have green root tips that are dying off, that means that your humidity is probably too low or your salts are too high, I think. There's other reasons for that, but lots of healthy green roots mean that, hey, we like how humid it is in here, so we're going to grow for you. Then we've got the Dendrobium microchip has put out 2 new healthy growths. In addition, it's starting a little new baby growth out down here, and I anticipate seeing maybe a couple more before the summer growing season is done. We have this Cattleya. She is actually in bud right now. Tossed up a sheath. First time I've ever had a Cattleya go into sheath for me, and it put out these buds, so I know this light is adequate. And down here we do have lots of these nice new roots coming around, which is very exciting. And everything is putting up new growths, like just new growths out the wazoo. It is the growing season, but I've never had so much success as I've had with growing under lights. Let's see. This Phalaenopsis is putting out another bud to sequentially bloom, which is exciting. We've got this Dendrobium phalaenopsis putting out 2 new growths, and there's another new growth way down there that's hard to see. Additionally, it's putting out a spike, which is awesome. We've got the Dendrobium firewinks putting out a new growth down there that I am training to grow straight upright. And many, many good things are happening. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh yes, I have a Catasetum in spike right now. This is Catasetum Dreamboat. This is the one Ian sent me. And boy, oh boy, its roots are like insane. This is the Catasetum I have with the absolute best roots. It's doing really well, but all these little seedlings I got from Sunset Valley Orchids are doing great too. We have a Brassavola nodosa in bloom that I purchased from an orchid auction. This actually belonged to my friend Jason, and it's just a beauty. Although it doesn't, I don't know, Brassavola nodosa, the species, doesn't seem to smell as good to me. Kind of reminds me of like hot dogs. I don't know, that's a bit weird, but maybe you guys who have Brassavola nodosa will know what I mean. Maybe I'm just a freak with my sense of smell. And we've got like a new growth coming off this plant. This is the Brassocattleya green bird, which has an entire new growth. I swear to God, I looked away for a week and I looked back and this new growth was just boom, there. And this plant has been stagnant for a long time. So growing under lights for this one, it really probably likes the warm temps and so on. We've got my Cattleya Chocolate Drop Kodama in sheath as well. I can't quite see the screen on my camera, but there's a sheath right there. I don't know if it's going to go into bud because it is a first time bloom seedling. We'll see. And again, there's just lots of new growths down here on this plant. If you could see that, there's a new growth. Everything is doing well. Even this guy whose roots got decimated by me, the Periurara, whatever, Rhynchorides, Bangkok Sunset, has a new leaf coming out. Everything is growing really well for me. So yeah, I guess this is my new growing space. This is what I am doing. And this is how I am growing under lights. I'm going to try not to get any new plants for a while so I can settle into this space. And I would ideally like to put a new shelf right here across from the toilet so I can have a 2-foot shelf with a few tiers going up here to give all these plants a little more room. This is pretty crowded for growing under lights. But yeah, anyway, I really hope you liked to see my new space. I know this video is a little scatterbrained and I haven't been up to date on my YouTube all the time. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this and found it informative. Have a really great day, guys. I gotta get the hell out of here. It's too hot. Bye-bye.